Andrea Lopez Villafana actually had this story from the Morning Report out in the Voice of San Diego, and taking an interesting take on what's going on down there with the mayor. So, San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria is proposing to eliminate the city program that would have helped people charged with crimes related to cannabis enter the legal weed market. City staff has been working on the cannabis social equity program for years, but it has yet to get off the ground. Killing the program would force the city to return an $880,000 grant that is secured from the state to help potential equity program applicants pay for permit and legal fees, licenses, and other expenses. The grant expires in 6 months. Last week, Gloria unveiled a proposed budget that relies on cuts
You ain't
and
down.
one-time fixes to address the city's projected $137 million deficit. The city council still needs to approve the proposed budget and cuts before anything is final. Per the article, while the city's cannabis equity program may not have gotten off the ground, plenty of money and time were put into building it out. The city published a study, engaged community members, and presented policy reports over the last 2 years. The council also delayed a plan to expand the number of cannabis businesses and business permits until its equity program was in place. People spent a ton of money on this, and they're just going to cut it just like that. So, potential applicants who spent months
You ain't
advocating for
down.
the program, participating in city listing sessions, and help city staff craft language for the proposed policy are all understandably pissed. Council previously allocated $1 million for its social equity and economic development program, or what they call SEED. The program would have created opportunities for people who were criminalized for cannabis possession or sales in the past. Megan McCall went to jail in 2009 when she was 28 years old for possession. It was a bag. It was a bag of cannabis-infused candy. It didn't belong to her. It was her mother's, but she took responsibility. That decision followed for her for years, affecting her ability to find work and housing. She also blames the deaths of her two older brothers on cannabis criminalization. They were arrested for selling weed, and drug tests were a condition of their probation. To avoid failing their drug tests, they started using drugs that had a shorter lifespan in their system, like cocaine. And other shit. But eventually they became addicted to the harder drugs and later died from the complications. She said that they cycled in and out of prison most of her life. Matter of fact, when I didn't get arrested, I was on the way back to see my brother on his deathbed. They died 5 months apart from each other. Is one of the many stories that they actually highlight from social equity applicants and why they got in there and how they had hope that San Diego's social equity program, which was different than everybody else's, actually was going to work. But now the mayor says they don't need it. All right, so my stance on all of this is I'm torn because these people's money and time was wasted. I'm always going to ride for the people who actually put the investment in. And I think it's wrong for the government to have proposed something to them and then just take it away. That being said, that's been the story of social equity, period, everywhere. None of these programs have worked. And there's been a lot more heartbreak in places like here in LA, right? I was on the ground marching for this shit when I first met Jason back in like 2016, 2017. Like a lot more was promised from the government. My stance on it now is like shame on us for believing the government was going to give us anything close to that dollar that they promised us when they have a history of giving us less than 10 cents when we asked for that dollar, right? So I'm sad for these people that put their investment in there, and that the mayor of San Diego is just going to nuke the program. But on the other flip side of course, you could be 3 years into this, still no license, paying 4, 5, 6 times the amount of rent that any other commercial business would be in your place, and asked out. And then when you finally do get up and running, you still have to fight against the trap. You still have 280E. You're fighting against MSOs, like more well funded, and you're constantly just trying to get more money, just trying to get by, right? So I think overall, this sucks. But on the flip side, like it could be worse, and it is a lot worse for people who actually got their social equity licenses and are struggling to survive now. And the other option is just go back to the trap, right? So I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for for Hyatt Diet Dudes, and I'm just like I'm heartbroken, but at the same time, it just does not surprise me, especially with San Diego being more conservative town, that they would renege on their promises, like they hear from the rest of the team.
I don't think there's anything in California that's conservative. You said San Diego.
San Diego's fairly conservative. Yeah, it's a big military town. Lots of retired law enforcement.
I don't believe it.
No, it's real. Town. It's true. Super conservative, like Orange County, San Diego is probably the best places to live in all of California.
Orange County. I used to live in Orange County. Orange County is conservative.
Yeah, Orange County, San Diego, both conservative places.
This is why we call it socialist equity, right, Jason?
That's right, exactly why we call it socialist equity, because of exactly.
It sounds like a great idea and everything, but they will pull that rug right up from under you.
You got to believe that anything they offer you is a trick.
Always does.
So
it is. It's more carrot dangling. It's just a buzzword. Social equity doesn't exist. 99% of the places they implement it, it turns to shit. Somebody should be held accountable, in my opinion, on this. That's just terrible. You got strung these people on this long. Somebody should be held accountable.
Yeah. Very much so. I agree with that. Someone definitely needs to be held accountable. Did you have something you want to say, Rochelle?
Well, let me get this straight. So basically they were like, we have a grant for social equity, but it's not working. We're not going to do it. We really need the money. So let's just take that back and use it for stuff that we quote unquote need. Is that what I'm hearing?
Pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Like, give me that back.
Exactly.
Actually, on second thought, wow, that's really wild. Like, I had no idea. So they're voting.
All these other states, they put that money, they designate it in a quote unquote general fund. This is what's going on. Like, they put that money in a general fund, and it can go back. Like when in LA, when they first started revealing where the social equity money was going. I remember I was with Felicia Carbajal at the big house here and we were going to protest this whole shit when it was revealed that all of the social equity money was not going to any of the businesses, it was going to police overtime.
That sounds about right. That sounds about right.
Right, like, oh yeah, we have a deficit. Pay these overtime police officers, the same officers who are not enforcing anything for these trap shops. They're not doing anything. They're not protecting these businesses. But you know what? Like, we get $1.2 million coming in. We're gonna give that to the cops. So this really sucks. I hope the people on the ground there can fight back and get their money, because we were able to claw back some of the money for social equity applicants here in Los Angeles. I hope it's a situation where they can do something similar down there. But this is just an ongoing theme, and social equity, man, it's government money, and there's always strings attached. And one of the biggest strings attached is always power. You lose your own power and your own autonomy when you're relying on government incompetence and in politics at play too. So you're at the mercy.
Yeah, no, I agree. You should have seen the look on Stone Slade's face when he realized what was happening in San Diego, man. Oh, man. Man, oh, man. Yeah, I mean, it's exactly why we call it socialist equity. It's a tragedy that is going on. But, I mean, this is the same thing as like what Gavin Newsom does when he goes into the cannabis tax fund and takes $100 million from it and says, you know what, we're just going to put this in the general fund now. And so this happens on the state level, on the municipality level, and I don't see any end in sight to any of this fleecing of the cannabis space. But on that, we're going to go to a commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Yep.